Hey everybody, it is Connor with Metal Inside Me. Today we are going to be reviewing In This Moment's 7th studio record, Mother. In This Moment is a metalcore band. That's what people kind of call them sometimes. Their sound is kind of all over the place. For the purpose of this review, I'm going to call them alt metal. They've got a bunch of different influences going on, but this album in particular is less metal than their other albums, with electronic effects playing a more significant role than their past works. But this is nothing new for In This Moment, with Black Widow being very similar and not being very metal. And Black Widow actually is an album that I really enjoy of all of their albums. It's pretty unique and creative. I do like quite a bit of their other works and other songs. So that being said, I was pretty hopeful when this album came out. So let's dive on into it. Instrumentally, this album doesn't really have much going on. If you pick out any song and just listen to it and listen in on the drumming and the guitars, you'll hear in every verse to verse, chorus to chorus, they're playing the exact same thing. It's lacking quite a bit of variance instrumentally throughout this entire album. That being said, this is not why people listen to In This Moment. They listen to it for Maria Brinks and her vocals. If you've ever seen any videos or been to a live performance of In This Moment, it is very apparent that Maria is the center of attention. And that is very true musically as well. Her vocals are the focus and the center of attention. Since the vocals are the center of attention, they are the driving force behind all these songs. They should be the thing that engage you in the song and keep you hooked. Unfortunately, her vocal performance on this album fails to do that for me for almost every song. They throw quite a bit of mixing and effects on her voice throughout this record, which for me is a negative because I really like her vocals and I like it when it's raw and passionate, and that can really engage you in a song. But I feel like a lot of the songs lost momentum by the effects they throw on it, such as in As Above, So Below. Right after the first chorus, there's a part where she's repeating the words of the chorus, and they throw this electronic repeat effect on it and cut it up, and that actually just killed the momentum of the song for me, because besides that, As Above, So Below was one of the really good songs that I liked. And it's because of the vocals that they were a driving force that engaged me in the song. Another song that was very, very vocally driven is the second single, Hunting Grounds, which could have been a very good song as it is a duet between Mariah and Joe Cotella of Dead. But unfortunately, that song fell short. Mainly because, honestly, the chorus is just cheesy, and it just disengages me from getting enthralled in the song. One song I am going to give props to Maria for is Legacy. That is a song where the vocals actually enthralled me in the entire song. They were a driving force throughout the whole song, kept me engaged, really enjoyed the song. That one, the vocal performance was good. It is also important to note, if you are familiar at all with In This Moment's music, you are familiar with Maria's scream. And I'm going to call it a screech because that's what it sounds like to me. I love her metal yell. It's done very well on the past albums. Unfortunately, it is a rarity in this album, which was disappointing for me. Lastly, we need to talk about the fact that this album has not one, not two, but 3 covers on it, which is pretty weird. It's not exactly out of place for In This Moment to do this, as they've put covers on their past records, but to have 3 covers on an album that's supposed to be all new music, it seems honestly just kind of lazy to me. So they covered Fly Like an Eagle, We Will Rock You, and Into Dust. Now, this is just my personal opinion, but I believe what makes a cover good is, number 1, you have to do the original song justice, and number 2, you have to do something that makes the song yours in some way or shape. And if you can do that effectively, in my opinion, that's a great cover. So with that criteria set, we're going to look at the 3 covers that they did on this record. So number 1, Fly Like an Eagle, it's fine. It's honestly pretty just like out of place on this album. Kind of just, I mean, it's fine. And so with that, it fails in my opinion as a cover. Now we have to talk about We Will Rock You. When I saw they were going to cover We Will Rock You, I said, oh shoot. Now that's a very, very, very bold thing to do to try to cover one of the most iconic songs of all time. Now you can do it, and it's a big challenge. So I was very, excited to see what they were going to do because if they're going to do that effectively, it's got to be something huge. Then I saw that this song features Lizzie Hale of Hailstorm and Taylor Momsen of The Pretty Reckless. And them and Mariah all together, that's an all-star lineup, the golden trio of female hard rockers. And yeah, I was very hopeful. So getting into the song when it begins, Mariah starts out the vocals by doing the first verse, and she does the same vocal delivery she always does, where she's kind of slurring her words a little bit and doing it kind of quietly. That's kind of how she delivers most verses on this album. And that to me, it was just kind of like out of place. And I was like, I don't know if that's working. And then for the rest of the song, when we hear Lizzie and Taylor perform, they absolutely nail it. And that contrast of Lizzie and Taylor nailing it with Mariah's strange vocal delivery. Well, it's not strange for her because she does it on all of her songs, but the way she delivers the vocals compared to Taylor and Lizzie, you can see how out of place it is. And yeah, it doesn't work very well. They also decided to throw some very minor electronic effects at the beginning and middle, but I don't know, it definitely takes away from the song. Like if you're going to change the music of one of the most iconic songs of all time, you better add something pretty big and spectacular. But they just added a lackluster in electronic effects to it, and it was just overall that was a big fail. I mean, they were taking up a big challenge trying to do it, and they failed. The final cover of the album, which is also the final track of the album, is Into Dust. Now, when I first listened to the song, it is very obvious. You can hear the static on her mic when she's about to start singing. So when she stops singing, you can hear the static stop. So terrible mixing on this song. In this moment, you're not a black metal band. I don't know what you were doing there. And what's weird about this song is, of course, I didn't know it was a cover, and I'm sure a lot of you guys didn't either. That's because it's a cover of a not very popular song and a not very popular artist, or at least I wasn't aware of it. And for me, looking at this artist and the views of this song on YouTube, it's not insanely popular. I mean, I think it was in the 100,000s of views, so it's not obviously a huge song. So I'm guessing a lot of you guys didn't know this was a cover. Into Dust is originally performed by Mazzy Star in 1993. There's something you learn every day. And the original song, I went back and listened to it. It is fantastic. And besides the huge static mic issue, Mariah does do the song justice, and it's a decent cover. It still just sits a little weird with me that they put a cover as the final track of the album, and it's also the fact that most people aren't going to know it was a cover. It sits a little weird with me. Now, I'm not saying In This Moment is dishonest for doing this, because, I mean, I'm sure they paid all the royalties and whatever you have to do to get the rights to cover a song. I'm sure they did that, but it's still just a little off that they decided to put a cover where most fans aren't going to know it was a cover as the final track of the album, and the fact that it's a really good song. Besides the mic static issue that I'd noticed, it is arguably the best song on the album. And the cover does obviously fail because the mixing was so terrible, but, in conclusion, if you're a big fan of Maria's vocals and you just love her vocal delivery, you're probably going to like this album because you get a bunch of new music with her singing and you get a lot of covers. And but if you're not, you're probably not going to like this album because, as I just laid out, there's just not much going on instrumentally. It's not very interesting in any way. It's not very creative. And yeah, just not many positives of this album. That being said, this album gets a soft 2.5 out of 10. That's all I got. See you guys.